Guys, welcome back for another episode. As you can see from the title and thumbnail, we're taking delivery of a G80 M3. It's my G80 M3, finally. It's been about a month since I had the car, and if you guys have been following the build, the car has been up in Oviedo, Florida, right? Pretty far away from here, about 3.5 hours away, but it's actually on the transporter right now, and we're gonna take delivery of a G80 M3. I'm so excited, and again, if you guys have been following the build, the car has gone through a transformation. So, give you a little backstory. I'm actually taking a little break from getting everything set for the invasion of West Palm. My shirt is sweaty from putting up flags, making flags, putting them all together. But we're excited for everybody to come out this weekend. But what I will want to say is that it's gonna be a lot of different videos this weekend. So you're seeing one of the videos now. That's probably after the invasion show and all that stuff. So stay tuned, ton of content, and I'm gonna showcase exactly how everything turned out. But I have so much to do today, but let's get going. All right, so I'm literally here waiting for my car to get here. My wife's car is gonna be sitting outside for a little bit for the paint to cure, but I'm excited. So stay tuned, the car should be rolling up. I just got a call from the front gate. As you can see, we just took delivery back of my G80 M3, and I was definitely nervous because, again, photos only tell you so much, but when you're able to see it in person, like, I know a lot of people weren't happy about blending, but I can tell you this, they blended this in. I can't even tell this was painted at all. Like, this is all done seamlessly. And I'll take a deep dive later because I really have to go back to the South Florida Fairgrounds to help my team finish up getting prepared for this weekend. But I was definitely nervous, but now I'm not, because it came out amazing. Between what we talked about in the first video of how this is all exposed carbon, clear coated, and this is all exposed too, attention to detail was done correctly. So I'm super stoked. You guys are gonna see this video after the invasion videos, but I'm gonna have to tune back with you guys probably in about a week or so to go over with the whole car and kind of break down about this. But this came out amazing. All right, so it's the middle of May, and you guys are seeing this now. The past couple weeks and maybe month has been so hectic. I got pretty sick in the beginning of April, so I'm better now. But we're gonna be talking about how amazing the guys over at PSI and also Samuel's Autobody did on making sure that this car came out absolutely amazing. When I'm telling you absolutely amazing, like, I was nervous about the whole process of getting the car repainted. And a lot of people mentioned, you know, when I first brought the car to Samuel's, was saying that it's never gonna be the same. You're never gonna be able to match OEM paint. And the amount of feedback I got from the invasion of West Palm Beach, which was about a little more than a month ago, people came up to me, was like, absolutely Ken, they did an amazing job. The paint match was spot on, and let's take a closer look at it. All right, before we go into, you know, the whole rest of the front, can you guys notice anything else that was paint matched? You may not notice it right away, but I'm about to tell you. So check this out. The stock mirrors on a G80X come painted OEM plastic block, right? ABS plastic, right? I thought it was gonna be a good idea to paint it a Mola, and I'm glad it did. It just adds a little more characteristics, especially on the side profile of the car. And a Mola is such a gorgeous color. Why not have more of it? I've seen other people paint the side skirts to be paint matched. I do like that idea, but I also like the idea of having the painted block. I think eventually I'm gonna do some carbon side skirts, which I'm still trying to figure out which company I wanna go with. And if you guys notice, everything that I've been putting onto the car has been strategically making sure that I'm putting it on because I like the way it looks on the car. And if you guys know this channel, I will not represent a company or represent a product or service that doesn't stand behind quality and also my vision of my build. And we've been on this journey for about 2.5 years. You know, this June would be, you know, a point where it's gonna be another anniversary of having this car. And it's been such a great, you know, time. You know, I think it'll be almost 3 years since having this car, which is mind-blowing. The paint match is so spot on, right? This is all carbon. This is a carbon fender from Karbonius. One thing I do like about this carbon fender is that it's an OEM plus touch, right? A lot of other fenders have the openings up on top, which sometimes you can see where it's exposed carbon, and it definitely gives it a unique look with those type of carbon fenders. But thankfully, I'm so glad that I&D reached out to me to be one of the first ones to have it on the G80X platform. And these carbon fenders add that OEM plus touch. One of the biggest difference about this fender is you see this exposed carbon. This is a carbon insert, right? And it allows air to flow out of the wheel well area. So it does have performance to this. And if you look at the website, they explain a little bit more about how air flows and how it reduces drag when air goes in between the wheel wells and everything. So it definitely helps. What I do like about it is that it doesn't conflict with what's going on in the front. In the front, we're gonna touch base on that in a little bit. I didn't get to film the whole process with the car when it was getting painted because it was a 3.5 hour drive away. And you guys need to ask yourself, like, sure, if you guys are going through the same process, most body shops will tell you you don't need to paint match. It all depends on the color, right? There's various different colors in, you know, the color schemes. Some colors are a lot easier to paint match than the others, and some colors are very difficult. So in this case, a Mola, sure, we could have gone the safer route with just painting the hood, painting the fenders, but that itself was just a lot of things going on. Because if you watch the last video, when you have, you know, certain panels that are so close to each other, if there's a discoloration between how the paint has aged, you know, or how the paint has cured onto a certain panel, you could have that discoloration. And when you look at it in person or even videos and photos, you may have a lot of things where it doesn't look on point. For me, if you guys know, I'm pretty OCD about how I keep my car, how I maintain it, and how I modify the car. So I told, you know, Sean at PSI and also Samuel, because they were in this journey with me together, is that if I'm gonna spend the money to get it painted, I want it done right. And it definitely was something very hard for me to understand, that I needed to get it paint matched, where I needed to blend. So when I first heard about them blending, and you can see from the overlapping photos right now, is when they blended these panels, they really didn't have to make this all bare, right? They didn't have to strip all the paint off this whole entire panel. What they really did was, they obviously rough of the paint where, you know, clear coat could go on top of it. I don't know the exact terminology, but I'm trying to explain it to the best of my ability. They used probably about maybe 2 to 3 inches off this door line, and they basically had it roughed up and primed for paint to kind of blend into this door. And what happens is the reason why you want to paint it and blend it is that you won't see the difference since it's a nice transition into another panel. If I didn't do it, I could have had the possibilities of seeing a lighter shade on one side than the other. When it's blended in, you're gonna have a tough time of seeing the transition. And if you guys did come to the invasion of West Palm Beach, let me know what you guys think in the comments, because a lot of people that did come up to me was like, Ken, they did such an amazing job between how it was fitted, how the paint matches all around. You can't even tell that it's been painted. And if you guys know from the last video we shot with Samuels and also PSI, is that factory BMW paint is not glass smooth. It has a distinctive texture. They have a distinctive orange peel texture, and the guys over at Samuels was able to match it. So when you look on certain angles, like to the front, to the side view, to overview, you are not going to be able to see that, oh my God, this is more smoother than this. No, this all transitions and meets the right specifications to make it seem like nothing was ever touched. Like, if you look at this car, it seems like this is how the car was painted from factory, which is absolutely insane. Because in the beginning, when we posted the last video at Samuels, some people have mentioned, some people have DM'd me, it was like, yo, you're gonna ruin your car. You're gonna be regretting because you're painting factory paint, it's not gonna match well. And a lot of that is from, the lack of education, the lack of information out there. So a lot of people didn't know, right, that this could happen. And I'm gonna be honest, myself too, I had no idea what to expect. But I knew, trusting Sean's judgment and also all my other friends from Orlando with their judgment, they all recommended, Samuels. And they did such a good job. So after they blend this panel into the door, what they do is they clear the entire door and the rest of the panels that need to be re-cleared. And when you look at it, that's why you don't see any discoloration or any different patterns of orange peel, because again, paint has natural orange peel from BMW, and that's what it makes it very seamless. I know when we first started this journey, a lot of people were like, hey, what's taking so long? I'm telling you, sometimes when you want perfection, it does take a little longer. And I'm glad I waited and was a little bit more patient, because when you have carbon from, one company compared to another company, sometimes it needs a little bit more modifications, right? Between whether it needs to be fitted with more material, sanded down, or just more time on making sure it all fits, right? We all know that carbon fiber companies, they do a really good job depending on what company you choose. And from what Samuel said, the carbon between Karbonius and also Vorsteiner, they're one of the best ones he's seen, right? But also too, it does take finessing to make sure that it fits with the right gaps and having everything, fit seamlessly so it's not rubbing against each other. Because it is an art form when you paint the car and also when you get it fitted properly. So the reason why it took so long is that some of it, you can see some of the photos that I'm posted right now, is that some of the edging here needed to be sanded down because of the way it fits. And also it needed a lot more, just adjustments. It took about maybe 2 to 3 days to make sure that the adjustments were right. And you guys gotta keep in mind, the guys that were at Samuels, they're months in advance, booked in advance. So I'm very lucky to have, the team over at PSI to get me in. And I'm not gonna lie, I probably cut some people, but I'm glad they were able to meet the deadline. But one thing I wanted to mention too is that when we went over, what we wanted to get done with how this was a little bit more exposed carbon, these are, I don't know if you guys can see it, I'm gonna try to make sure the camera's focused, but look how sharp those lines are. The striping between how this is exposed and this is all carbon, it is spot on between the lines and also where the hood kind of folds and exposed. And also too, like when we were there last time, we mentioned that we wanted this exposed. And if you look at these paint marks and stuff, it is crispy. I'm telling you, it is very crispy. So the way they tape this up and they let it cure it and stuff, sometimes some shops may rip it off and the paint doesn't cure properly, and you may have jagged lines, but these are all so sharp. So when it comes to Samuel's Autobody, their experience, I have to say the customer service, and when you deal with the shop sometimes, you want to deal with the shop that has great customer service, and I gotta say they far exceeded my expectations. And you're gonna hear that a lot because, for example, this is one of the customer service reps, and we were talking back and forth. This is, I believe, Brittany from Samuel's, and we went back and forth of some of the questions I had. She was able to send me some updated photos that you guys seen on Instagram, and also you're seeing right now. They took their time on making sure that they answered all the questions I had, and to be honest, I was probably one of the most pickiest customers and stuff, but that just happens because I want it done right. So Brittany at Samuel's Autobody kept me informed and kept me updated, especially with some of the delays. And some of the delays was just the fitment, right? Making sure that certain panels need to be aligned properly, because again, you need to make sure that when you're putting OEM stuff and also aftermarket parts, sometimes it needs a little bit more finessing, and that's what happened. I'm glad they took their time to make sure it fit. So one thing that you can see right now is that the body lines are all even, the amount of gapping in between the hood, the bumper, and fenders look very OEM. And nothing's gonna be 100% perfect because sometimes there's always deviations, but it looks so good. And you go look at some of the other cars out there, sometimes the gaps are way too big and it doesn't fit properly. And all that has to do with the quality of the carbon and also the quality of the body shop. So again, if you guys are looking for a shop to really, make your dreams a reality, and how cliche is this sounds, because I always wanted this hood when I first saw it, and I definitely want to thank Manny over at Vorsteiner for making sure that this hood came on time for the show and being a good supporter of the channel along with Beamer Invasion, because this would not be done without I&D, Manny at Vorsteiner and Vorsteiner team, PSI, Samuel's Autobody, and everybody that watches this channel. And I'm loving the way this car looks. It's tough for me to see another G80 without a modified hood, because look how aggressive this is. It looks so good. Between the body lines and how it's exposed carbon, it looks so aggressive. I know somebody asked me this, right? What happens when you wash the car or the car gets wet? See how these are actually functional vents, right? And this too was something that needed to be done properly, where you get the mesh to be on here. This goes right through, so when you do wash the car, it does get wet here. So that's something you have to realize. But one thing that's good about these newer cars is that you can actually get this area wet within reason, right? You're not gonna be, holding a hose here to get everything soaked, but everything is so weather sealed that you should be fine. That's why a lot of people you see on detailing videos, they actually detail their engine bay and use a pressure washer to kind of wash it. And I've done it before in the past, but just know that these vents are functional and you will get this a little bit more wet than normal. But between how this hood looks and how aggressive it is, and we left the inside exposed carbon. We didn't do anything else differently to it. It's still how it is when I got it. But the real main work is from the fitment between the hood, the quality of the paint, and also how everything fits. So I do want to reiterate how important it is to, blending, right? I thought they were gonna repaint the whole bumper, like sand the whole bumper down to, the plastics or even just a primer. But I was totally wrong. Like a lot of the information I got, or a lot of the information I thought in advance, was debunked, right? Same thing what they did with the door. They basically sanded this all down. They primered about maybe 2-3 inches, and they blended the paint from the hood down to the front bumper. So they blended the paint from the hood down to the front bumper. So it basically made it seamless. And sure, there's other people that have done, you know, blending jobs or even just painting panels, and I could see that. Yeah, sure, that could be done, but I didn't want to risk, you know, paying all that money up front and getting it painted and not having it match properly. I know a lot of people also ask this, like, Ken, what happens if you sell the car? Number one, I feel like I'm just so far deep into this build that I don't really see myself getting rid of this. If I do decide to add another build to the car, I'm gonna add to the channel, it would be an additional to this garage. Hopefully my wife lets me. That's, again, you gotta listen to your boss, right? Your boss is always your significant other, because yeah. But going into this, right? If I were to ever sell this car, if somebody offered me an egregious amount of money just to take this car, I would give them the hood, the fenders, and the stock parts. And they would have to, you know, figure out if they want to go back to stock and kind of, you know, make sure that the stock panels still match. I really think that they got the spray outs, and the spray outs was something that most body shops do. And the spray outs basically try to get to the exact same color as different parts of the car. So they basically take these spray outs on these cards and they match the car all around, making sure that it matches. I'm sure if you were to put the stock hood and the fenders, it would match almost 99%. But to be 100% sure, we went with the blending process. But again, if you guys ever see this car in public or at a show or at any of these events, look at it. I want you guys to look at it and, you know, see if you can notice anything different. But in the next week, we're actually going to be taking this car to Hughes Detailing. And what we're going to be doing at Hughes Detailing is actually getting the car PPF'd. Because right now, only half the car has PPF now, which again, you have to think about all this stuff if you had the car fully PPF'd, added costs and all that stuff. But I'm so happy with this build that I do see this car staying with me long term and being one of the old classics when I'm like 67 years old. So we're gonna get the front re-PPF'd and we're gonna talk about that, go through the whole process. And the guys over at Hughes are using a different film instead of XPEL. I think they're using Suntech, and we'll talk about what the advantages are with Suntech. And from what I know right now, Suntech has less of an orange peel and it looks more clear, has better clarity. And we're gonna go through the whole process and you guys are gonna love the B-roll on that because it's gonna get saucy. And I'm already thinking of some changes already for the car. Something that's, I think a lot of you guys are gonna like. Nothing crazy, but has to do with some of the shoes. So we're gonna talk about that in a future video. But I wanna thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up. It definitely helps my channel grow. And I wanna thank the team over at PSI, team over at Samuels, Karbonius, IND, and Vorsteiner for making this a dream come true. Without them and the guidance, this was probably gonna get jacked up. So I definitely want to thank them, and you know, I want to thank you guys again, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.